What is going on, YouTube? Crypto for Change here. My name is David, and today we are going to be taking a look at the first vote in 2022 for the Algorand governors. If you are a governor, you are going to want to make sure you watch this video because there is some good information about what is being proposed that we are voting on and why I think this is a great step in the future towards Algorand becoming one of the best decentralized blockchains out there. So without further ado, guys, let's jump right into it. So first off, guys, we're going to start over here on the Algorand governance portal. As you can see, the voting session has started and it will end in 23 days, 23 hours and 46 minutes from the time I'm recording. You can come down here and see when the first governance period is going to end, which will be March 31st. That's when or close to when the rewards will be divvied out for this vote. And you'll see the amount of ALGO staked, the rewards that are given out, and the amount of governors we so far have. As you come down, you will see the xGOV platform, which is the measure we are voting on. Like I said, this voting measure ends on February 28th, 2022. If you click on it there, though, it's going to go over a little bit of just the information. So far, it shows how many governors have voted, the staked voted so far, obviously not that much compared to the total amount. It'll also give you a brief overview of just what we're voting on, as well as this measure and what it entails. Now, we're going to look at an article by the Algorand Foundation. It's going to go more in detail, but you can get a general idea of this xGOV layer platform that they're wanting to bring forward right here. And like I said, pretty much option A is going to be moving forward with this in theory, and then obviously fleshing out the finer details in future governance votes. Or option B would be saying, no, we want to stick with the Algorand Foundation, bringing proposals and measures up instead of doing it the way they're showing here, which would be with xGOVs using a DAO. So let's jump right into the article and we will take a look. I will link this in the description below, guys. So if you want to go read it yourself, you can do so. And I highly recommend before making a vote, just so you know what you're voting for as a governor. So February 3rd is when they released this. The Algorand Foundation is committed to a fully decentralized Algorand ecosystem. They believe that a governance structure that allows the Algorand community to impact the most important economic, technical, and policy decisions is fundamental to the long-term stability and continued growth of the Algorand ecosystem. They go over in this paragraph right here just to talk about the success of the first vote, how it had over 50,000 governors that participated in the first round. It was very successful, and it just showed that the backing that that Algorand has from its community with the amount that was staked then, and we've almost doubled that amount just in the second governance period. And now with this new expert governance, which I believe will be going through, and I'm excited to see it go through. I think we are going to see even more dedication towards Algorand's growth, and you're just going to see some long-term players being formed in the early stages, which I think is huge for the growth of Algorand. So coming down, currently the Algorand Foundation listens to the broader Algorand community and chooses the measures to be voted upon in the quarterly governance periods. So if you were to vote option B, it would stay that way. But however, they think that their governance would benefit from a more direct involvement of the differing views of the decentralized governors. Thus, in this vote, the foundation proposes establishing a layer of expert governors, or xGOV, which via a decentralized aggregation mechanism such as a DAO will have the power to put forward measures for the quarterly governance votes. The governors that want to support this direction vote A, while those who prefer to keep the current setting would vote B. Now below, they expand on the context of this proposal, describing the motivations for it and outline a possible implementation. This is provided to give the community a better understanding of the direction in case A is chosen by the governors in the vote, and to receive feedback from the community. Now, should this initial proposal be accepted, subsequent votes in future governance periods will set the details of the different aspects of the xGOV system. So even if this does get passed, what I'm about to go from this point on is not guaranteed that this would actually be concrete. We would still be voting on the specifics of maybe all the weighted things that they're going to talk about in here. So just know that this is just kind of proposing, or if you're voting option A, you're pretty much saying that you like this idea of moving forward with the xGOVs, and then once we get that approved, we would go further in detail on what their roles would be and all the other things and actually get all that ironed out. So the first thing they touch on here is the role of experience. And I think this is really good for people who maybe aren't a quote unquote whale in Algorand, and you're a governor, but you don't have as many algos as people who have more money to buy Algorand. I mean, honestly. So the goal of this proposal is to create a cohort of decentralized decision makers who demonstrate enduring commitment, are knowledgeable of the realities of the Algorand community, and whose interests are aligned with the good of blockchain. So coming down, it says being able to put measures for a vote is a significant upgrade to the power of the governors. It becomes even more important than governors with this power understand the needs of the community and have their interests aligned with those of the Algorand ecosystem. Requiring the support of a higher stake to put a measure to vote is a necessary step in this direction, but they think that stake is not the only principle to select xGOVs. The willingness to commit for a longer time than normal governors and the experience built through continued service in governance must also be taken into account. Thus, at least 1 year of commitment is required to become an xGov. So right now, with the proposal that they're saying, right now we stake our algos for 3 months. At the end of the 3 months, we get our rewards if you're just a regular governor. With this one, you would have to stake for a full year, so 4 quarters, and then you would get your rewards at the end of that. What happens when expert governors, after completing the 1 year of commitment, continue to commit their stake for governance? They propose to have this additional commitment increase the weight of their stake when supporting a voting proposal. For example, after a few years of governance, 1 algo in the hands of a 2-year xGov may have the same weight as 2 algos of a 1-year xGov. So this also goes to show, like I said earlier, with the people who maybe don't have as much algo to stake into this xGov platform and to be able to vote and bring measures forward, your algos would become more powerful over time. So imagine, obviously, I know it says here just after 1 year, or after 2 years, yours would outweigh someone who's just freshly starting to stake and they're just a 1 year of an xGov. But imagine like 10, 15, 20 years down the road, if you're someone who's going to hold on to these algos for years and maybe even pass these on down to your kids or something like that, that voting power could be massive no matter the stake, especially if you've had, the enduring commitment like they're kind of showing here, and you've been, committed in Algorand governance and as an xGov for multiple years. So I think it's really cool that they are showing that they would reward longevity over just someone having a bunch of money being able to jump in and propose measures. So the role of a DAO, and a DAO is just a decentralized autonomous organization. It's pretty much a way that the community can vote and do it without there having to be a centralized figure that comes in and says yes or no. It would be a full way for the community to pull up or to bring forth measures to vote on, and then that would be given to the broader market or the regular governors for them to then vote on to see if it would go through or not. So implementing these principles above, there needs to be an aggregation mechanism so that the smaller stakeholders also get an opportunity to influence voting measures. The possibility to aggregate the support of a measure should be automated as much as possible. They also must measure upfront willingness of a governor to commit for a long period and become an xGov. Enforcing the commitment and recognizing in the blockchain the xGov state when achieved, it would be desirable to tokenize this recognition as NFTs associated with specific governors and their experience. So therefore, they're seeking a decentralized framework for aggregating expert governors based on smart contracts to avoid manual intervention and arbitrary judgment by the foundation. A DAO structure seems to be the right concept for implementing such an aggregation mechanism, and together with the community, the foundation will define this DAO structure. A DAO or a few DAOs could aggregate governors and mutualize their rewards to distribute them only at the end of the commitment. It could also automatically issue xGovs NFTs, giving the receiver the rights to propose measures within a DAO proportional to the length of the commitment. And as that aside, another reason to use the DAO is that it may also allow governance to become more liquid. Combining governance and economic activities, a DAO mechanism can be written to give expert governors some ASAs that represent their committed algos, freeing those governors to use the ASAs in DeFi applications even as the algos remain tied in governance. This could increase the overall liquidity in the platform and contribute to the total volume locked on Algorand. What that means is, for those who are locking their algos for a full year, they realize that would be a long time, and there's so many DeFi platforms that are being built. That's a lot of potential for money lost. So there was a thought that could be brought up. A different ASA could be created so that your stake of algo that's committed, you would receive another ASA that you could then take and as it would probably be accepted on other DeFi platforms. You could stake it, yield farm, whatever it may be, to still earn yield and to be able to use that stake even though it's in governance. They do give an example here, on the left. This is pretty much what we have now. The Algorand Foundation brings up the measure to the governors vote, option A, option B, and there we are. And then rewards are distributed at the end. With the new one, the measure proposing would come over here by the DAO, which is the xGOVs voting on it. They would then push this to the Algorand Foundation, and then it would go to the Algorand governors to vote on whatever the measure was brought. Now, coming down here, it does go over an expert governor's term, consists of 3 phases. The first one is the registration phase. So in the first phase, expert governors serve as regular governors, and in addition, they register with the DAO for the period. When registering, they specify the DAO as a beneficiary account that should get their governor's rewards. The DAO verifies their registration as governors and gives them xGOV tokens, which are frozen and cannot be transferred. And like I said, these can also be clawed back and burned, because just like I said, if they were, say you started out as being an ex-governor, but then you didn't vote, or say you just wanted to pull your funds out and sell your Algorand because you didn't want to, ride the market volatility or something like that, or you needed your funds, this would give them the ability to claw back and burn, kind of like as it says here, when registering as governors, they specify the DAO as the beneficiary account that should get their governance rewards. So every quarter, you're still going to get your rewards, but it's going to go to a beneficiary account, and until you serve the full term, so the full year, that is then when you would get your rewards at the end. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about if a xGOV would be right for you. Again, extended governance, this is the next phase. After registration, the xGOV continues to govern with the rewards kept in the DAO for a minimum number of periods. Right here it says at least 4, which would be a full year. The rewards collected by the DAO in previous governance periods, both registration and extended phases, are used to sign up as a governor in the next period. The DAO will vote on behalf of all the xGOVs that are registered with it based on their individual indications. xGOVs that fail to specify their votes are disqualified from the DAO, and their xGOV tokens are clawed back and burned. Third phase is the redemption or transfer. Once the extended governance phase is over, eligible expert governors can use their xGOV tokens to claim their pro-rata share of the rewards that were collected by the DAO. The xGOV token can also be used to support advancing measures to a vote for a certain period of time. Also, these tokens can transfer into a new DAO for a new extended governance period, in which case their weight will start growing by the accumulation of experience. So this is again hinting at where if you're someone who's going to be in it for years and years and years, your experience would grow, meaning your power and influence would grow as well. Now, there is, some people I've seen on Twitter and even talked with some people on some live, YouTube sessions about it. There's this fear of, well, the whales, what if they're the ones who have all the power, early on, and they are just able to propose whatever it may be. And the only thing I would say to that is, one, we're all trying to be, we would all be whales if we could, right? Your long lost cousin or someone you didn't know died and you were given $1 million. I would believe that most people watching this video, you would probably end up buying a decent stake in Algorand, since you believe in Algorand and you like it for the long term as an investment, and also just what it's doing in the blockchain space. So with that in mind, I don't feel like being a whale and being able to influence votes is necessarily a bad thing, because just like it said earlier, they want people who are expert governors to be people who are in tune with the community, in tune with Algorand and the blockchain space, and for its good. So I don't believe that someone, just because they have a large stake, should be seen as a negative in this stance, even though, yes, they might have more power in a vote to bring up a measure. I don't see them doing something that would negatively affect their own investment. So I'm not really that as worried about whales, quote unquote, having more of power, but I do like the fact that they are seeing or that they want to give the ability for smaller holders and people with smaller amounts staked to earn that experience that could then multiply their governance power down 5, 10, 15 years down the road. I do think that is huge, because there's a lot of people who don't even pay attention to Algorand right now, and so that will be huge 5 years from now when everyone, I believe, will want to hold Algo and be a governor. You've already got a nice head start being an Algorand governor and that experience in that time frame. So the current governance vote in the current voting session for Q1 2022, they're asking governors to approve in principle the creation of an xGOV layer based on the principles outlined in this question. So becoming an expert governor entails longer commitment than a current one. Both stake and experience determine the measure support power of an expert governor, and serving as an expert governor is done via participation in a DAO. So that is the main things that we are voting on in this one. Just like it says, some context and examples have been given above to collect community feedback for future steps. In principle, every ex-governor will be able to write a measure. Minimum rules will be set to avoid spamming. Then the ex-govs will aggregate their experience-weighted stake to select which ones will be passed to a general vote involving all the governors. And it goes on to say that if approved in principle in this vote, the foundation will start the process of fleshing out this proposal. The details of the xGOV platform and the rules that govern it will be discussed with the community over the coming quarters, and governance will be called on again to approve this program after all these details are determined. So kind of going back to the initial thought, this is just kind of approving in theory what they're hoping to accomplish with the xGOV platform or layer. This is not ironing out all these details as, true. So there will be more votes that'll happen in the future that will flesh out more of the details and how all this, smaller things inside the DAO would work with staking, locking everything up, rewards being paid out, maybe how much the rewards are and whatnot. So all that will be fleshed out in further votes. But this is pretty much, guys, what we will be voting on for, this governance vote. Like I said, I'm super excited to hear what you guys think about the option, maybe which way you're voting. Obviously, like I said, if you go back and you look at the foundation, the voting is open. So if you already know what you're going to vote for, get out there, do your job as a governor and vote. I believe I will be voting with option A. Just like I said, I like the ability to make Algorand more decentralized and to give the people who are really committed to Algorand's future more of a weight in, say, in measures that are brought up instead of it just being from the Algorand Foundation. I think that's a good step in becoming more decentralized. And so I'm pretty sure I'm going to be voting option A, but I'd be interested to see if there's anyone who, is wanting to vote option B. And if so, tell me in the comments why. Thanks for watching the video today, guys. And do me a favor, smashing that like button, subscribing if you're new, and turning on the notification bell just so you don't miss out on any future content. And until next time, let's get out there and make some money.